Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Week Ahead. The legislature has just gotten back from a week of vacation, February school vacation, in which, while there were no committee meetings and no session, the Appropriations Committee did meet to deal with the budget. Now that they're back, from now through at least April vacation week, we anticipate very busy schedule, lots of public hearings. They have over 700 bills printed, so that's roughly half, maybe a little less than half of what they're expecting. For me today, this week, the big issue is the meeting of the Joint Select Committee on Marijuana Legalization and Implementation. They've had a couple of preliminary meetings early on. They're meeting this week and giving the public an opportunity to come before the committee and express their concerns and ideas for what they need to work on in order to make the MLA, the Marijuana Legalization Act, which passed through the referendum process, workable. Obviously, the business community has concerns about this. What are the rights and responsibilities of employers with the potential of legalized recreational marijuana in the workplace and the effects of that? What's the impact on workers' compensation insurance and injuries, etc., etc. On behalf of the Chamber, I plan to be there today to deliver some comments and some asks of the business community in this area. It's a big deal, and the committee is really starting from whole cloth in order to make a law that's workable in this state for law enforcement, for individuals, and for employers and others. So that's probably the biggest issue of today for me.
In taxation, yesterday we testified in opposition to Senator Brakey's bill, LD 311, which would basically eliminate certain corporate tax expenditures in order to provide lower individual income tax rates. It's a concept draft, so there really wasn't anything that specific in the draft, but we opposed it because it's trading one tax for another, lowering one tax to raise another one. So, the corporate tax expenditures are very important to businesses. They help keep them competitive. So this is going to be an ongoing issue in the Taxation Committee. He's going to come forth with a draft, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of deliberation over the next few weeks, as well as they're going to be tackling the budget, the tax provisions in the budget. They'll start holding work sessions on those, so that will be in the next few weeks as well. So got a lot of work.
Busy week in the Natural Resources Committee. They already met and held the public hearing on a chemical regulation bill that deals with flame retardants here in the state of Maine. We do have passed TSCA at the federal level, and that's really where legislation such as this belongs. They held a public hearing on that yesterday. Also, they're dealing with work sessions dealing with the nip bottles, the little alcohol bottles, and putting a returnable 15-cent fee on that. That came out of committee, ought to pass yesterday, so that's going to be a significant piece of legislation coming to the floor. Also, banning of plastic bags is being worked this week. In addition to that, there's going to be 3 public hearings on Wednesday dealing with our product stewardship law, dealing with rugs, mattresses, and batteries. So a lot going on this week in the Natural Resources Committee. They're going to be very busy. Same with Education Committee. Yesterday they had public hearings on one piece of legislation that would remove the standard of guiding principles from our education standards, which is very important to the business community. These are the soft skills of we want our students to graduate as good communicators and things of that nature. So it's concerning for us that there's a bill to repeal that. So we were there in opposition along with other members of the business community and the education community. Also, on this Friday is the K-12 education budget before Appropriations Committee, and one very concerning piece of that budget is the elimination of funding for pre-K, early childhood education. We all know that brain development in terms of our future workforce really starts early in childhood, and so we will be there on Friday testifying in opposition of the elimination of support of early childhood education here in the state of Maine in the budget. So really busy week. They're getting right back at it, rolling up their sleeves, and I think it's going to get busier as much.
Well, and they've approved a supplemental budget now. That sort of clears the decks for them to work solely on their biennial budget. But I don't know what their schedule is for finishing up the public hearing. I know that Jim Hamper announced last week on Mike that they were starting their 25th hour of public hearings on the budget. So I think they're only about halfway through.
Yeah, no, it's going into March.
Yeah. So that concludes this week's edition of The Week Ahead. We look forward to having you join us next week. Take care. Thank you.
Stay classy, Maine.